All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go further in. Watching that performance, I couldn't do that if I tried. I just realized that last part would have probably broke my whole body. So we're gonna jump into it. So it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Richard Mofe-Demijo, or RMD. As many of you know him, he will be interviewed by Dr. Angel Smith. He's an award-winning actor and filmmaker and has also served as the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism in Delta State, Nigeria. RMD has brought powerful stories to life on screen and continues to represent his country with pride. We're thrilled to have him here tonight to share his journey with us. Just really quickly, I think I've watched probably 2 or 3 of RMD's movies, and it's caused a little bit of jealousy in my home life, because the first time I met, there was people saying, why wasn't I there at that first meeting with you? One of them was my wife. And then my best friend and some other people from the community were saying, why wasn't I there? So, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into, one second. Also, we would like to point out that KMTV is here, do a ton of work in the Liberian diaspora, but they also do it across the African diaspora, so we're happy to have you guys get the word out here as well. So without further ado, we will begin the interview, and I just want to say thank you for blessing us with your presence, and then Dr. Angel Smith, thank you for sending us up as well.
How's everyone tonight?
Doing good.
All right, Dr. Smith, you're all right.
You're welcome, you're welcome. So first of all, I want to say how it is a pleasure and an honor to connect with you again. You made it back, and you made it back safely, so for that we are thankful.
Thank you.
Tonight we have a few questions. We are going to have an open conversation, ask a few non-traditional questions, but typically they're centered around local government, our partnership, also a little bit about his career and just opportunities overall. So if we have any young people, any youth in the audience, we have a few questions in there for you as well. But before we get started, I just want to play a little game. So this is for us to get to know you a little bit better. So the name of the game is this or that, okay? So I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you tell me your preference. Okay? All right. So tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. Books or movies?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Movies.
Movies. All right. City life or countryside?
City life.
Okay. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Oh, yeah, you're the next one. The small one over here.
I don't mind doing this now, but summer.
All right, dine out or cook at home?
Dining out.
All right, sports car or SUV?
SUV.
All right. Fame or impact?
Sorry, say that again.
Fame or impact?
Impact.
Public speaking or private discussions?
Public speaking.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl. I didn't make it up early.
comedy or drama?
Comedy.
Suit and tie or casual wear?
Casual wear.
Okay, I've been following you on social media, so you have a lot of good fashion choices out there.
Yeah, I used to love suit, but after COVID, it's casual now.
Okay, so how was that? That was nice and easy, right? All right, so we're gonna get into the hard stuff now, a little bit tougher. So, again, as I mentioned, a lot of the questions are centered around community engagement, as well as career and growth development, and a little bit about our sister cities. One of the reasons why we're joined here tonight in honor of our sister cities partnership, and we believe from the city of Brooklyn Park, our partnerships with our community and those we're serving is very important. So with that said, your first question, you've had an incredibly diverse career, acting, law, and public service. How did you manage to transition between these different fields, and what drives you to keep exploring new opportunities?
I think the major driver is the need for change or the need for impacting community. I was extremely fascinated by masquerade performances. Most of the things I have done are interconnected, and so I find that it's easier for me to transit from one to the other, whilst they might look like they are standing on their own, but they are all interconnected. And it is that connectivity that encourages me to keep doing things in different fields. When I went to study law, I quickly found the connection between law and the arts, because in Nigeria, it was always about the performers' rights being compromised at every point in time, or the artists being cheated by the big corporates. And so being a forefront artist and becoming a lawyer, I just kept giving free advice to my colleagues, who would not bother about the contract. The average artist, tiny print. So yeah, that's it's the interconnectivity that makes me want to keep just finding ways to transit from one to the other.
Thank you for that. So the next question is in regards to community engagement. So as a former commissioner for culture and tourism in Delta State, what were some of the most important lessons you learned about leadership, and how can people use these lessons to lead in their own communities?
I think the most important thing that I came away with in leadership is that the people need empathy. And once you can empathize with your community and they see the people that you're leading, once they see that you can connect with them and you can empathize with whatever their situation is, then it becomes easier to lead. And I found that until date, the reason why I can go back to my community is for that singular reason, that they know that I can connect with them and I can relate with whatever problems they're going through. What we find in leadership in most places is that there is a disconnect between the leaders and the led. As an actor, I have a very strong, I have an idea that I always used to illustrate it, or I have a simple example, and this is it. This is the stage, right? They say the world is a stage, and we all are players on the stage, and we play our parts and we leave, right? So let's take that, this is the stage. For everybody who's performing, this is the stage, and then this is the audience, right? You will find that there is a chasm or a space between the stage and the audience. Now, if you're communicating from here, the only problem that you have to get to the audience is for your message to be able to transit from here to there and make sure it doesn't die between this chasm here. And if you're communicating from here, you make sure that your voice can transit over this disconnect and get here. And there should be no fear about me breaking the wall and walking in here and relating and touching. And they should also not have any problem in breaking through this wall and coming here to have a private discussion or to talk. Now, the problem is that we make sure that the people here, they keep this space. And the people here, they make sure that they keep this space. Africa, fortunately, has a solution to that. Now, as a performer in Africa, we perform in the round. Now, this is European. It's called a proscenium stage, where there is always a gap. But when the Africans perform, they perform in the village square. And so you are not looking at in one direction. For you to be a good performer in Africa, you have to keep moving around. You have to keep moving around. And you have to keep engaging. You have to keep engaging your audience. Because when the masquerader comes to perform, when he performs and looks at the audience and the audience is quiet, he stops and he goes like this. And I clap, God damn it. And so they begin to clap because it's a two-way thing. And if there is no synergy or synergy between the performer and the audience, everything dies. And this is where it all dies. So as a leader, I found that the people, they require very little. And they just need you to hear or to listen to them when they speak. And I guess when that happens, when you see yourself as a performer in the round with access to you and access to the people that you're leading, you create magic.
So we're going to roll into a question about our sister cities and some thoughts in that area. So Brooklyn Park Sister Cities Initiative with Blue Nigeria has been a point of pride for our community. In your view, how can cultural exchange programs foster greater understanding and cooperation between cities or even nations?
I think there's some going on already, but we can't have enough. As a young graduate, I came to America in 19, I forgot when, but it was in the 80s. I was on a USIS cultural exchange program, and I went through like 9 cities, and we were just visiting theaters. Now, it gave me a different perspective about, we were 18, brought from different countries in the world, and we were made to share rooms. I shared a room with a Jamaican guy, and we have remained friends until date. So with cultural exchanges, you get a chance to experience other people's cultures, and they get to know you better. There was an aspect of the thing that I enjoyed most, which was when after a while, when we got to LA, we were moved, we were not given hotels, we were given families. We had volunteer families that we stayed with for like 3 days. Now, I live with a Jewish family, and it was the most amazing thing that happened in that visit. It so happened that the families, their son, is a video film editor. Now, he was in the basement, he doesn't come up. So when I was there, the father said to me, "Oh, I have a son your age, but he's one of you guys. He's an artist. He edits his videos downstairs." And so I said, "Can I go downstairs to see him?" He said, said, yeah, no, but I'm not going with you. So I went downstairs, knocked on his door, and he opened the door, and I introduced myself. Fortunately for me, he was editing a musical thing on his computer, and I saw that he was a musician from my country called Sonny Adi. Yeah, so he was editing. So I said, oh, you know the king? And I started talking about him. And he looked at me, he didn't say much. And he was like, you know him? Yeah, so I said, yeah, I know him. I interviewed him because before then I had just done an interview with him in Nigeria. So I was talking about him, and we connected so much that an hour or two later, we both came upstairs. And the mom was in awe. And when we finished and went to bed, the mom knocked on my door and came to me and said, what did you say to him? So I said, we connected culturally. Because, I mean, here he was, miles away, editing something that is from my country. He didn't know much about the musician. And from just interacting with him, I told him about everything. And he said, editing the guy became a lot more fun for him, And I'll close with this other example. I was in New York. This same trip, I was in New York, and at the Museum of Modern Art. And there was an exhibition there. And the exhibition happened to be an exhibition of prints, original prints from a Nigerian artist called Bruce Nobrakwe. Again, and he's from the same, I'm from the same place, same, ethnic group with him. He names all his art in my language. Now that is hard to pronounce if you don't know anything about my language. So there I was, in the audience, with 18 people from different countries, and I became like an official tour guide for his art. And I explained everything to them, and the dynamic in the room changed. The minute there was an understanding of the cultures and all that. And that trip taught me a whole lot about Jamaica, about China, about Japan, because these were people drawn from everywhere. Now, the more cultural exchanges we have, the more we seek to understand each other, we will find that we are closer. There are more things that bring us closer, or there are more things that unite us than separate us as a people.
So you've been a public figure for many years, whether in entertainment or government. So how do you balance the expectations of your public life with your personal values and goals?
I don't know how I do it, but somehow I find the balance. I love family, and I had kids very early. I'm 63, my first is 41, so we're like buddies. So so I find, and then my last girl is 22, so I find it easier to relate with. I think also the fact that I taught Sunday school for quite a while sort of helped to connect with younger people. So I do find time for my kids. If I get to come to the States, no matter where I'm invited to, I stop in Maryland. My family, my kids live in Maryland. 2 of my kids now live in Maryland. So I always will stop in Maryland to connect with them first and say, Daddy's around, but I'm busy at working, But I do that. And I will go home from there as well. I'll go back to Maryland, touch base for a day or two before I go home. So I try to make sure that works. I find a way to put them in my schedule, because I can be really pretty busy. But if family is important, then you have to find a way to put them in the scheme of things. So I try to put family, in everything. The family for me is number one. Yeah.
So your career is a testament to reinvention. What advice do you have for people, whether they're young or seasoned professionals, who feel the need to change direction or pursue something new?
There is a saying, I don't know if it's Christian or it's traditional, but there's a Christian version of it, which is that when you find the work of your hand, God will bless it. Right? Is that how it's said? I don't know. Is that how it's said?
Don't put me on the spot.
I'm just asking. You're my sister. But when, so when
Yes.
I am I have always this is what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be a performer. Like I said, I was drawn to masquerades from a very early stage in my life. I knew that I just wanted to be a performer. I wanted to put on a mask. If I'm not putting on a mask, I want to be on television. I want to be in that box. I want to be on the silver screen. And so everything that I do revolves around all that area. And so what I have done over the years is I keep looking for how to explore this area, the cultural milieu, the land of my familia, so to speak. So in the process of doing that, I always find that there are things that I'm yet to do. And so it is not, somebody said to me earlier today, when I was trying to look for the sayings, like when you find that thing that you love to do, you never work a day in your life, right? So I never work. For me, this is not work. This is just a being, right? So if you are old or young, if you can keep the fire burning, you'll never get bored. I tell, so young actors will ask me in my class, I teach as well, and they will ask me, how do you stay relevant? So I said, no, you don't stay relevant. You are. You do what you do. And if it burns inside of you, then you are hungry for success all the time, or you are hungry for new frontiers. So if you're constantly looking for new frontiers within the area of your familiar, then you can't get bored. Okay? I'm here speaking a conversation with me, right? I've had a few fireside chats in my life, but it keeps getting better every time. Because whether it is in Davos, in Switzerland, or it's in America, or it's in Nigeria, it's the fact that you are constantly seeking to connect with people. You know, it doesn't matter whether they're white or brown or black, you're constantly looking for ways to connect with people. And an actor's life is about connecting with people and audiences all forever. And that's why they don't die. They live in the memories of people forever. I mean, how cool is that, right? When you are a creative person, whether you make art, or you sing, or you dance, or you act, you just don't die. It's such a cool life, you know, having fun and getting paid. I'm sorry guys, those of you who are just entrepreneurs, you get paid a big bucks, but you know, how much fun you're having, I don't know, but I have fun doing what I do. So you should find that kind of purpose, you know, find that work of your hand that you really, really don't consider work. When Monday approaches, you don't say, oh God, another day at work. You know, if you can find that thing that will not make you, you know, frown at waking up on a Monday to work, then you found it.
So what role do you think mentorship plays in personal and professional success? And whether someone is young and just starting out, or an adult looking for new opportunities, how can finding the right mentor be life-changing?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. I've had mentors all my life. 90% of them I never met. I still haven't met, but their work fascinates me enough to want to listen to them and see whatever nuggets of wisdom or tricks that I can take from them. Anybody that knows me knows that I love Denzel because of his life on screen, his values on screen and off screen. What is interesting about great people is that if you look at the matrix of their life, you will find that they were decisions that made at the very early stages of their career. It's tough to be able to take a stand when you are a nobody. But if your values are very intrinsic, and if you have been brought up with certain values, you must start to apply them no matter how voiceless or powerless you feel at any point in time. It doesn't make you, look back in regret. There are certain decisions that I took in my profession, even when I was a nobody. But because I was trained in a particular way, and because I had values from my family background, I was very clear as to how I was going to conduct myself. So when the Me Too movement started in Nigeria, a lot of actors and producers were very scared of what was going to happen to them. But I wasn't in the least scared, because I knew that I don't have to reflect and ask myself, how well I've conducted myself in the past, because I had mentors that I could look at and say, these ones are the ones I'm looking at. And so if I follow them and follow their values, I will never go wrong. So when you find a mentor, you don't have to meet the mentor. So if you find somebody who is in your profession that you look up to through his books or his thank God for social media, you'll find them somewhere. At some point, you'll find them, and YouTube is a great resource and all of that. You'll find these people, and then you keep studying and looking at the kind of life that they've led professionally and also from the point of view of family. I was watching this video the other day of Denzel's kids, in one place, and they were all talking about the family values, and it reaffirmed for me how much of a wise choice that I made, using him as my mentor. So mentorship is so key, in anything you do in this world. The minute you find a good one, you must hold on to them. And there's a prayer we pray in Nigeria where somebody says, "Oh, I want to be like you when I grow up." You will say, "No. When you grow up, you will be bigger than me. You will be better than me." So that's what I tell my kids as well, and the people that I teach, that if you find a mentor, you must look at your mentor with a view to bettering your mentor. So it's not just about being like them. It is about bettering whatever it is. Because if you don't, then there is no movement. Right? So that's what I say about mentorship. Find a mentor and completely surpass that mentor. Let that mentor be the stepping stone for whatever you do. Let it be your value, but your compass. But it is with a view to discovering bigger things and better things than your mentor.
That's some great advice. So this one is along the same lines, but this is for, again, young people aspiring to enter public service or government roles. What advice would you give them about navigating the complexities of those careers?
It's a very tough terrain. Young people are not in the least attracted by public service. Yet it is one of those areas that we must find a way to get into, because they say if people get the leadership they deserve, okay? So if you feel that there is a need to have a better society, you must throw your weight in. And throw your weight in is by participating in governance. It's the last frontier. We were sharing earlier today in my room before we got here, and I was saying, every time we think about Africa, we think about bad leadership. But in the process of doing that, we extricate ourselves from it, forgetting that it is people that form leadership. Now, if somebody is my leader, if I don't feel that the person is representing my values or the shared values that we all, as the people he's leading, then we have a responsibility to make sure that we affect him. Either by taking him out or getting somebody from amongst us who we think represents our values to go in there and do the work. But we don't want to do the work. We don't want to do the work. For the Nigerians here, they would resonate with this more, and I'm sure it might be the same thing with most African places. So some people will say to us, the country is usually very divided along ethnic lines. And some of the elites who are in positions of leadership, for the most part, we say that you guys complaining from the South that you are hard done by the North, you all keep your kids in Stanford, and when they finish from Stanford and Harvard, they stay in Morgan Sachs and all of that. But our kids come back home to be in government, to be in positions of leadership. They start from ministries and all of that, and tomorrow they become directors and cabinet secretaries and ministers, and then your kids are in America expecting that things will get better or things will be done their way. If you want change, you come bring your butt back home and throw your weight into the fight and see how we can bring about change that you need. So for young people, I would say what we say to young people who are making films or who want to make films. We say to young filmmakers, the only way to become a good filmmaker is to make films and keep making films. So the best way to become a leader or to affect leadership is to go into governance, and keep fighting it. Nobody has ever in this world given power free. You go in there, you find it, you grab it, and you perpetuate yourself in it. Otherwise, and when you do that, you find that you start barricading others from coming in. It's just the way of power. So for you to affect that and break that, you have to go in and grab it, and change it. So they should participate. They should go into party politics, and they should go into governance directly as well, because it all starts in the parties, right? Yeah.
So looking back at your career, is there a particular moment or project that you feel most proud of, and what made it stand out?
I would say that when I got into government, it was the era of the performing arts being celebrated across the world, and it was the era of America Got Talent, Britain Got Talent, and all of that. And what I did was to say, Nigeria's got talent. And if Nigeria's got talent, Delta State's got talent. And I had the chance to start what I call a Delta Talent Quest, because young people form a larger percentage of my state. And so we had not just music, we had dance, we had comedy, and we had acting. And so we had these talent shows going on over, and that has continued in government and is still ongoing. So that I'm proud of. Trying to awaken the creativity in young people, because my view was that if I can come from the lowest point in the state to national prominence, then you can, because that's what it is. If I walk through my neighborhood, they will say, the older people will say, oh, we knew he was going to do this, from people who went to school with me. One of my classmates is here. This is what I was born for. I had always known from when I was very little. So I'm one of those lucky ones. I never wanted to be an engineer or a medical doctor, none of that. I just wanted to perform. I loved masquerades, and I would dance, I would sing. Unfortunately, I can't sing. I can only sing in my vernacular language, in my native language. But that's it. That's it.
So you've used your platform to advocate for various causes. What is a cause or initiative you're passionate about?
Women and children. Women and children. I'm a he for she. Maybe because I come from a polygamous home, by the way. That's like news to a lot of people in America. So my father had 5 wives, and we were 17 children. Yeah. So yeah. What was the question?
So basically, your platform, you advocate for.
Yeah, I said women and children. I'm just thinking about my father. Anyway, so I love women and children. My father had 2 girls before me, and then I'm surrounded by so many women. you know, and then I'm an only child of my mother. And so she brought me up to be sensitive and respectful and all of that. So that's very key. So I love women and children. And then I became a Sunday school teacher for about 19 years or more. So I've always interacted with younger people and kids. And then women's rights are somewhat, women are somewhat repressed. You know, it's a very patriarchal society. You know, all of that is changing though. You know, you don't even want to get started with my cousin here. It's on my phone. Oh, no, I wasn't talking to you. I was just saying all of that is changing. Right? Women are a lot more outspoken now. You know, so I do some work for the UN. I work for women's rights. During COVID, we found out that violence against women became like was on steroids. Men who couldn't go out from the house and had to stay with their wives for 2-3 years. You know, studies found out that women became, you know, violated a whole lot. The men didn't have avenue to breathe out. That was their complaint. You can see people can relate, right? Let's not get into that. But I love to do causes that affect women and children because I think that for children, Africa has a lot to still do for children, and then of course female rights and all that. So I've advocated quite a bit for that. I do autism as well. I've lent my voice to autism. I've lent my voice to tuberculosis in Africa as well. So yeah. But women and children are the core areas of my public work.
So I'm shifting. So, this or that.
Okay.
Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Brooklyn Park, are you kidding me?
So what I want to do is grant an opportunity for those in the audience if anyone has a question. I would like to also ask my colleagues if someone could take the mic. And if there is a question, feel free to ask. Be brief and polite. House rules.
My name is Ambrose R. Russell, and I grew up watching you. It's an honor to be in this space with you. Thank you for your leadership, your words of encouragement really means a lot to me. And my question to you, as you navigate your career, what was that moment that you felt like something has stopped and you never saw the bigger picture? Everything was looking bleak, but you had to push through to get birth to where you are today.
Even now, things still look very bleak. So, but I will keep persisting. I'll keep pushing because, you know, you're only as good as your last performance, right? So I keep looking for better opportunities to perform better. I never let, you know, hard times get me down. If you know anything about Nigeria right now, those of us who work and lead in Nigeria, you can be worth $1 million today, and you wake up tomorrow morning, you'll be worth $200,000. You know, it's that bad. So, but you don't. When you wake up on those days, you don't stop working. You still go to work, right? So I never let, you know, bad times beat me down. When I graduated from university and finished what we call the youth service, there was an embargo on employment. We were told that we could not be employed. In 1984, there was a federal government embargo on public service. So you couldn't be employed. And I taught in a secondary school, King's College, Lagos, for 6 months, no pay, no stipend, nothing. You know, so that's, but you know, you don't, those times you don't wake up and say, you know, that's it, I'm giving up. You keep hoping that the next day will be better.
Thank you.
My sister from
Uganda.
Uganda.
Yes. Okay, so I mean, Richard is popular all over the continent. You know this, right? So I'm from Uganda, and I've been watching your shows for forever. Like you're one of those guys who, if there's an R&B movie, we make sure we watch it. So
Thank you.
congratulations on all that great work. So I have 2 questions. The first one is, in terms of the roles that you've played as an actor, which role was the most different from you as an individual person? Like, that took you completely out of your comfort zone. Total opposite to who you are. We know you as the good guy, but which role took you, which role really made you dig deep in order to perform, and what did you learn about yourself in that role? That's question 1, A and B. And question 2 is, what do you see as the role of collaboration amongst actors on the continent and the furtherance of this African continental free trade area?
Okay, so the first one is, there have been quite a few, but the one I can recall most, the one that comes to mind is a film called Shanty Town. Yes. I recall that because my own daughter called me and said, "Dad, if I didn't know you, I would deny you." That's not my dad. You know, my last daughter called me up and like, "Dad, what was that?" You know, and you know, the funny thing is, I actually didn't think people were going to react that way. I didn't know how busy I was when I was doing that. So for me, it was another day at the office. But what I find in roles like that is that there has to be some redemptive value to the character. He must meet his Waterloo, and I hope he does. There is a part 2. Netflix loved it so much that they've given us a second season for that. But there are all kinds of mitigation. The other one is, it's not too far from me, but I had to dig very deep to do it. It's a film called The Black Book. The guy is a retired assassin, and his own child was killed, or hell broke loose. He was just going around serving justice, like a vigilante. Netflix loved that one so much too, they've given us a 2 for that, so I'm looking forward to that. What lessons learned is that, the human being can do anything if he sets his mind to do it. Yes. There is no limit to what you can do when you push to that limit. People just need to know how to push you and get you to that point where you can, do a complete 360 or 180, as the case may be. Collaborations is the very key to growth. And again, like exchange programs and cultural exchange programs, it does open the doors to understanding other people in Africa and the continent. I've done a lot of collaboration with South Africans. I'm doing some collaborations now with Rwanda, and I've been privileged to do work with Ghanaians as well. So I'm constantly looking for avenues to do a lot more with other African countries, because that is like so key to our collective growth as a people. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. Indeed, it's a privilege for us to be here to listen to you.
My Ghanaian brother.
Indeed, Collins Kofi Opong. Thank you so much. Nyamiado.
My Ghanaian name is Yao, by the way. Yao.
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 So, born on Thursday.
On the Thursday, yes.
Okay, I'm Kofi because I was born on Friday.
Yeah.
And today is my day.
Oh.
All right, I have 2 questions on leadership and again on mentorship. You mentioned that that's important factor to look up to someone, especially in the industry that you may be finding yourself, and kind of almost try to see their values, copy them. I think from afar, sometimes it can be a little tricky because people try to put up both fronts and you may not know exactly who these people are until maybe years down the line where 1 or 2 things may crop up and probably you might have been following somebody who wasn't really what you were used to see from afar. So how do we navigate that, especially as young people here who may want to take 1 or 2 people in an industry and look up to them, but they may not know exactly who these people are in terms of their very real personal lives. Secondly, you advise that we get into leadership, especially governance and politics. People have said that, especially in Africa, sometimes you may have very good reasons to get in there, but when you go in there, the system may change you. How do we stay true to our values, especially in a system that is so much known for corrupt practices and corrupting people as well? Thank you very much.
You will find landmines if you persist. You know the thing about, is it Elijah who said he thought he was alone? You are never alone. You're never alone. If you persist, you will find people of like minds and you'll keep doing the good work. There are people in Ghana, there are people in Nigeria that are thriving and holding on to their values in spite of the political landscape and how corrupting it can be. I was sharing again today with a friend of mine that it was a Maya Angelou thing that I saw Oprah Winfrey repeating again recently on social media, which is to say, in this very wicked world, we all as a people must keep amazing, must keep doing amazing in spite of how wicked the world is. So in spite of how corrupt and bad the political terrain is in Africa and whatever, if you go in there with a view to doing good and to changing the place for the better, you must keep in that little space that you find yourself, you must keep doing amazing in the face of all the corruption and all of that. And you know, by God, you will find a lot more people that have the same, you know, goals like you are. In terms of mentorship and the fact that some of them might have clay feet and all of that, for me it's easy. I mean, if I'm looking at somebody from a distance professionally and I see the values that he portrays professionally and I lock onto them, and I find out tomorrow that he's an abuser or a serial killer in private, I'll say this is what I will never be. That part of him is what I will never be. And of course, I will switch from that and look for somebody else, you know, to follow. If somebody has a public persona and he kept and gathered it so much that it was inspiring, that's what it's meant to do, is to inspire you to realize. And remember, I said to you that first is to have a mentor, and second is to surpass your mentor. So it's not just, they are just springboards for you to look at, you know, like beacons, because we are constantly seeking directions, right? So they are beacons for you to look at and like, okay, I can at least get to where he is, and when I get to where he is, then I now know how, you know, how best to get beyond where he is. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, and once again, welcome. I'm originally from Liberia.
Say my man, you know, from Africa. You like Bambada?
Yes, you know what I'm saying? But I lived and worked in Nigeria, so that's, and I've been all over 33 of the 36 states of Nigeria, visited and worked in. And so I was in Delta, and I struggled when I was in Warri because the pigeon, I couldn't
be careful now. That's a lot of my verse. Be careful.
So that's why it was easier for me to work with the chiefs when I served on the city council to start this project, and so that's why I'm really grateful to city administration, to the mayor for picking this up and carrying it forward, because these things are continuity. So one administration leaves, the next administration comes up. So I'm glad that this is happening. But my time in Nigeria was fascinating. I was based in the north, but traveled, like I said, all over the country, working, delivering vaccines to kids there. So that's what I was doing. I did not see the sort of interest, and my entire team up in Kano, I was in Kano, in Kaduna, but like I said, I spent time all over the place. A lot of my Nigerian friends really didn't embrace the Nigerian movie and Nigerian art form and music and all of that. And these are all high ability folks. But out of Nigeria, everybody is embracing it. Everybody's embracing Hollywood and all of that. I don't know if it has changed. I mean, I just came back in 2017, so I don't know if that has changed. So my question to you is, one, is that, maybe first, if that has changed, but what is responsible for that? What is responsible for, you have folks within the culture not embracing the art form and the culture and all of that, one, two. And what's wrong is going on between Nigeria and South Africa? What's this issue? What's this deal? Because I know you talk about the collaboration, and there are a lot of filming that's done, music, videos and all produced in South Africa, filmed, on location in South Africa and all of that. But there's tension between South Africans and Nigerians. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. That's slippery slopes. I'll try to navigate it because I'm a child of history and I know a bit of the history. But to answer your first question, you said you were mostly in the north. It could be from point of view of religion. That's why the ones that you were with were not embracing our own art form. But all of that is also changing because there is Afrobeat in Hausa now, and all, in the north. A lot of the campaigns have had to also embrace the art form to change. Hollywood, which is Nigerian movies from the north. That's Nollywood, and then there's Kannywood. So Kannywood is like a section from that northern side. So they are aware, they embrace the culture, they just frown at certain liberal practices in the south. So that's what that would be. For that of South Africa, I think it's not the majority. It's not the majority of South Africans who do this. It's a result of a lot. There's a lot of underbelly to that whole xenophobia that's going on there. If the people responsible for all of that, if they knew their history, they would know that we were part and parcel of the struggle to unbundle apartheid. There's a lot of misunderstanding and lack of education that us black people suffer from. And that is a case in point. And it will be remiss of me not to, just mention even some of the tension between Africans and African Americans. I was at a session 3 days ago or so. Yes, on Independence Day, October 1st. I was in DC, and somebody said that she was on the set of Jumanji, the movie, and that something happened, and there was an African American girl who got so mad at her. She's a Nigerian woman, and she was like, "Go back to Africa, go back! You guys sold us out here," and that the thing escalated so badly that they had to separate the two of them, and then But later on, it was a teaching moment, of course, and then, when tempers had calmed down, of course, there was some teaching. So a lot of people still, it's a narrative that was sold by the colonial masters or by the slave owners who told their slaves that they were the ones that were sold, they were sold by their brothers. But we all know now with history that that is not true, because slavery was not invented by the transatlantic slave trade. Slavery and slave trade has been on, from time immemorial. In fact, with the trans-Saharan trade, it was always there. So it was not a question of, slavery started when, Portuguese explorers and all of that. And when the explorers even started, it was a mutual thing. It was more respectful. But when the plantations expanded and they needed more workers, they started raiding. Europeans started coming to raid African communities with the discovery of gunpowder and all of that. They started raiding and killing people and forcefully carrying people out here. And that is why the whole of Amistad was based on one of those forceful, raids. So when you know your history, then you will not fall victim to some of this black on black tension that arises for no reason. I don't take offense when I meet things like that. I call them teaching moments, and then you use those opportunities to talk to your brothers, and then you get to understand each other more. And thank God for what is happening today with our music. Yes. And all the DNA tracing and all of that. A lot of them are finding out that they are 37% Nigerian, or yeah. And I was telling a friend of mine that I said, it is not by accident that all of you guys are within the West African area, because a lot of people came from there, and of course the Congo area as well. The Liberian guy can testify to this, that there is an area in Liberia that's called Congo Town. Because what happened was that people, when the first settlers from here got to Liberia, they started stopping ships, slave ships that were passing the Atlantic, and stopping them and making and some of them were offloaded, in Liberia and settled amongst the early people, and of course that's why you have that whole Congo Town, but that's another lesson for history.
So this is going to be our last one. You've been waiting, so.
Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. Permit me to greet you, Orobo, as well. Mego.
Well, the boy didn't really
Mego.
You know what it means? When we greet where we come from, like you just said, literally means I am on my knees. And then I'll say, get up. Get up, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sir. I'm still learning. Yes, sir. I'll make my question really brief. I've had the privilege to watch things you do and how you do them. I'm going to talk about creative economy. I see you've tapped into that as well, and I'm excited to share or ask questions of here. It's a $985 billion industry as it is now, and projections in the next 10, 20 years will surpass even the IT world. I see that you're an advocate for that, you're pushing for it. But my question to you is, what's the structure for this movement? Is the government back home supporting this? And if the answer is yes, for people like me who is here in the diaspora, how do we support that? Because it's a movement, I'm passionate about it. I have my fathers here who are doing great and wonderful things, but with you being part of it, I think it will help us get there, and just help us share light into how we can tap into creative economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you, first and foremost, that's the one thing that the government is doing right. The government is actually supporting the creative economy, and they have an entire ministry now dedicated to the creative economy. And there's plenty of money that can be accessed through Bank of Industries, and then there is something in the Vice President's office called IDAS, so that is also dedicated to the creative economy. And so people, there are criteria for applying for those loans and all that. There's one also run by Providence Bank, which I was a beneficiary of. I turned down my loan because it was a bit delayed, so it's in abeyance. But how you can contribute to it is if you want to benefit from that. There is nothing set aside for diasporan applications, but I guess you can partner with a production company back home. We can talk more about this later on, and then you can apply through the production company. A lot of people are applying. IDAS is doing what they call roundtable discussions right now across all the states of the Federation to educate people on how to apply for this loan and what the criteria are, because you have to meet certain things, because they're not grants, they are more like loans, but with single digit percentage, which is a whole, which makes a lot of difference. If you're seeking on contributing, you can again partner with people back at the production company back home by doing co-productions. I just did a co-production in Utah, in the whole of February and March. So it's the collaborations that bring about the development, right? People now load equipment from here. There are constantly production houses that are selling whole equipment, like, just revamping and then, buying off everything and sending back home, because they are constantly looking for better technology to shoot the movies, because, like movie making has become so technical. So it's driven by technology now, as opposed to how it used to be in the old days. So as an applicant, it's again collaborating with back home. As a donor, is again you can work with the government directly, the office of the vice president. I can give you directions for that in our personal discussions. And then if you want to contribute, if you want to collaborate, bring money from here. There are people, that I can link you up with, that you can do co-productions with. I know that this whole thing is going to culminate in a production as well. We are going to find a way to collaborate with Brooklyn Park filmmakers here to do something.
All right. So we are going to wrap up, but that does not mean that he will not be here for additional questions. We do have the room for a certain amount of time if we have to clean up and pack up. Otherwise, I will let everyone just continue asking questions. But before we do that, we do want to basically show our appreciation. Am I using my outside voice? You can. Okay. We just wanted to say thank you to you. We know this is going to be a strong relationship as we're moving forward. We have tons of work to do in our community, but we also know that you do a lot and you give back a lot as well. And so we wanted to offer this to you. This is our first Global Empowerment and Connection Award. And it says, celebrating your role in strengthening international ties through the City of Brooklyn Park Sister Cities program, acknowledging your dedication to community service and efforts in mentoring youth, making a lasting impact on their lives. And so, let me see if I can get it out.
It's heavy.
It is heavy. Again, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the City of Brooklyn Park for allowing us to spend some time this evening. We know you had to make arrangements on your end to be here with us, but we truly appreciate the time and your effort and commitment of being here with us. And we look forward to our continued partnership, as well as additional community events that we will be hosting in the upcoming years. So with that said, everyone, safe trip home or wherever you plan on going, but you gotta get out of here.